So if somebody has an 8 vibration, it means in their last lifetime they were doing prana, breathing, as above, so below. They were connecting those two. And so this person is working on being a little old yogi on a mountaintop, meditating and talking to God, working on their center, working on staying still within their own balance. So this could mean that they were a Taoist, a Confucianism Lao Tzu person. They could have been a Buddhist. They could have been an ascetic. They could have been a wandering truth seeker in some way. So the soul of 8 is a beautiful one because it means that they were by themselves. And what I love about an 8 vibration is that they're very spiritual, but they're not religious. So whereas the 6 is very religious, the 8 says, I'm going to go sit on that mountaintop until God talks to me, and God will talk to me. I don't need a person, a church, an organization to talk to God. If I just get still enough on the inside, I'm pretty sure I can talk to God. It's kind of like that. So that 8 vibration is a really beautiful thing. And so you'll find a lot of people that are very powerful spiritual seekers, yoga people, Pilates people, Aikido people, people that are really into breath and movement, and that's their form of meditation, is that combination. So again, if I was dealing with a person who, let's say, was very, very stuck and very miserable and very unhappy, but they had a soul of 8, I would coach them to go do yoga or pranayams or Aikido or something. So if it's a guy, I'm going to say do Kung Fu Aikido. If it's a girl, I'm going to go say do yoga and Pilates. Especially if they're stuck, if they can't figure out how to get unstuck, I just need to get them to breathe. Like that, because they did it in their last lifetime, and they do have a door there. So it's helpful to know that they have a door there. And then we go to the 9. And the 9 vibration. And 25, 26, 27. There we go. Okay, so the soul of 9 says in their last lifetime they were being an artist. So they were very intuitive, they were very creative, they noticed colors and shapes and textures and subtleties and nuances and little things. This is a very sensitive person, they're easily hurt and wounded, they take things very personally. They are very much influenced by the news. They really shouldn't watch the news, they'll get kind of depressed. They even get upset with the nature shows where they say there's only 200 of these left in the wild or something like that. Like that'll upset a 9. 9s are oftentimes people that, I'm going to be vegan, I'm not eating meat. It becomes a moral issue for them. They're not going to eat tuna because the dolphins are getting caught in the tuna nets and all that kind of thing, right? So there's this whole kind of mixture of stuff going on there. So a soul of 9 vibrationally is a very, very sensitive person. They're very deep emotionally. If I was using water as a metaphor for emotional depth, some people are a pond or a stream or a creek or a lake. The 9 is the Mariana Trench in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, which is the deepest place in the ocean, and they're very deep and they're very sensitive. And sometimes they feel like they're going a little crazy because they feel like they're overreacting to things. They're very, very sensitive to subtle energy, and most of the time, most people can't relate to them because most people look at them and go, you're being overly sensitive, you're overreacting. And they're not really, they're just really naturally sensitive, and they notice the subtle undercurrent that other people don't notice. So a 9 person, let's say they're at a party and somebody comes in and is being loud and kind of excessively happy, that 9 person might say, wow, that person's really mad. And that everybody's like, they're not mad, they're laughing, and they're like out of control, and they're like, no, they're actually pissed off. I mean, like a 9 can actually see what's under the surface of the behavior a little bit more, but it's hard because the 9 wants to tell the truth, but most people don't want to tell the truth. So the 9 is, I mean, if you have a 9, it's kind of like an owl. You can see into other people's dark closets, and people don't want you in there. Yeah, so they're like, don't you come this way. It's like, oh God, she's going to tell me the truth. Oh no, that would be really bad. So that's a 9 vibration. And then, again, finishing up and reiterating the 10, 11 that we did already touch on, but the 10, and let's do 29, and let's see, this is an 11, and then do this as a 19. Okay, so the different vibrations of the 10 and the 9 up there. Somebody with a soul of 10, they've been the leader. Powerful, dynamic, energetic, lots of enthusiasm. They've been in charge, they've run companies, they've had to put things together, they've had to make decisions that affected lots of people. They've got a ton of energy and vitality. They're Alexander the Great. They keep going forward no matter what. It's a warrior number. It's got a real powerful position and stance to it. Again, it can collapse into the 1 and be, victim-y if it's not careful, but it's rare to see a pure 10 go into victim mode, but it does happen occasionally. Then if you've got somebody who's the 11 vibration, the 11 vibration is the rebel. They're going to rock the boat, rattle the cage, be a ruthless truth teller in some way. They are going to go against the social norms. They're going to come up with inventive new ideas and ways of doing things. They have done a lot of wild things in past lives and been very adventurous and taken huge risks. An 11 can be obsessive compulsive. They can be a little addictive personality wise. An 11, I try to make sure that they don't drink when they're younger or do drugs when they're younger, because it sometimes means that they can't stop once they start, because it's a little obsessive compulsive, because that 11 likes to escape the reality a little bit. Like, in a past life I got on a boat and left Ireland and went to America. So I'm going to escape my reality. I'm going to storm the Bastille and create a democratic France. I'm going to resist the status quo. I'm going to resist the norm. So 11s are the rebels, and they have a tendency to, I call them the bipolar pups. And what I mean by that is that if you say, don't do that, that's bad, they'll probably do it. I mean, it's just like the way of an 11. They're probably going to do it.
I have a brother that's totally
getting it. Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh my gosh. So, okay, so that covers the 10s and the 11s. And because we just finished the soul number, we're going to go to the karma number. And the karma number has a really strong association with astrology and astrological signs. So for a minute, we're going to kind of dabble in this a little bit. And it's important to kind of have it as a reference point, but you don't have to use this 100% when you're working with the numerological system that I'm giving you, but it's sort of helpful. It's helpful to kind of have a little bit of a clue. So the month, obviously, which is the karma number, so if somebody is born 1/30, that's right, 50, okay, so that would give them this karma of 1 right there. And in astrology, the number of the month is corresponding to 2 astrological signs for each person, because in the month of January, which numerologically belongs to Capricorn and Saturn, because most Capricorns are born in the month of January, whereas only a few Aquariuses are born in the month of January. What this does is numerologically it will flavor the person based on the number, okay? So why this is important is that it gives you a couple of things. It actually tells you that a person born, like this number right here is an Aquarius. This Aquarius born in the first month has an advantage as an Aquarius because they do not have a karma of 2, which means they were not born with a karma of critical mind, negative mind. So instead they were born with a karma of 1, which is Capricorn and Saturn, which is the planet of hard work and struggle. So if you think of an Aquarius, which is the humanitarian visionary and the idea person and the person that brings in new ideas and concepts. Aquarians are very expansive in their thinking. They're an air sign, so I know that Aquarius is the water bearer, but it's technically an air sign. This will create earth because Saturn is an earth planet. Capricorn is an earth sign. So it gives a groundedness to an air sign. So if a person has an air sign, they've got great grounding, you can imagine that they would be more effective, right? Because they have this vision of a possibility, they have amazing ideas, and yet at the same time they can stay really grounded about it in some way. The problem with it is that they might feel not as escapist oriented as an Aquarius could be, okay? Because Aquarians can be escapist oriented, but this karma of 1, which is Saturn, is so earthy that they can't get out of the responsibility factor, right? So that earth is like, oh, I have to get dinner on the table, oh, I have to pay my bills, oh, and so, because Aquarians can kind of be the wandering people that change jobs a lot, but with this 1 in this position, they couldn't. So if you've got a person that is born 1-3-50, notice those numbers are exactly the same, right? So both of these are going to have a 3 and then a 5 and a 6, and we've got an 18, 19 as a 10. Okay, so now what we've got is a person who has exactly the same number pattern, but we've got 2 totally different signs. So you have to translate it based on the sign and the karma. So a Capricorn being born in the first month, having a karma of 1, they're kind of ruled by Capricorn. They're ruled by Saturn. So they know they have to struggle and work hard. It's kind of like tote that barge, lift that bale, work, work, work. They have to get the job done. Capricorns are classic late bloomers. They do much better as they're older than when they're younger. So the phrase for a Capricorn is that they're old when they're young and they're young when they're old, okay? So when they're young, they have all this wisdom, but nobody listens to them, and it's so very frustrating. And then when they're older, they get more childlike and lighthearted and freer and more relaxed because oftentimes they've already figured out their money thing. Capricorns also classically age beautifully, so my favorite Capricorn is Sophia Loren. And so if you look at her, you would never know, she's got to be 80 or something now, but she's just amazing. She's beautiful. So Capricorns age really beautifully. So this karma of 1 is associated with humility again. It's associated with the Dalai Lama. So again, this person's karma as a Capricorn or as an Aquarius is to be humble and authentic, down to earth, reasonable. They need to work very hard. They need to do the due diligence and the follow through. But again, if we're dealing with this translated through the Aquarius, now you've got an Aquarian, which is an air sign, kind of burdened by Saturn. So it's like holding Atlas, it's like Atlas holding up the world. So here's this air sign holding a lot of earth, and they're going to feel a little condensed, compressed, not like they're having so much fun. But ironically, if they are willing to keep working on it, this person would actually be the person who would make more money as an Aquarius, because Aquarians have a tendency to give it all away. But this karma of 1 is so practical, and it's Saturn, it's Earth, it's like hard work and struggle. Like this Aquarius would have had to work really, really hard for this energy, that they won't give it away so quickly. Okay, so it actually ends up working positively, not negatively, for the Aquarius, but it's a little less fun. Okay, it's just a little less fun. It'll end up being better for them in the long run. So what I find is the most successful Aquarians are oftentimes born in the first month rather than in the second month. And that doesn't mean that those in the second month can't be very successful, especially if their numbers are a little different. But I'm saying as a generalization, which is a tricky thing to do, but as a generalization, financially, Aquarians born in January do better.